If the current market interest rate for loanable funds is above the equilibrium level, what will most likely happen? Well, if we were to draw this, typically we have the demand for loanable funds with the interest rate. Well, if the interest rate is high, the demand is low and the supply is high. So if you're above that equilibrium point, that intersection point, what happens is that you have an excess supply of funds. And when you have an excess supply of funds, a lot of people who want to loan money and not many people who want to borrow, interest rates will start to drop. So the quantity of loanable funds supplied will exceed the quantity of loanable funds demanded, and the interest rate will fall as the right answer. But any other ones explains it. If you go through it, they either have the direction of the interest rate change wrong, or they're saying that there's excess demand at that higher interest rate, which is not the case. Suppose that in the closed economy, GDP is equal to 15,000, taxes 2,500, consumption 7,500, and government expenditures are equal to 3,100. What is public saving? So first off, we need to know that this is closed economy. If this was a tricky question, you know that with closed economy, investment is equal to savings because there's no net capital outflow or inflow coming in or out. But in this case here, the question is actually quite simple. What is public saving? Well, public saving is the government surplus or deficit. So in this case here, if the government is spending 3,100 and taxes are 2,500, they're running short by 600. They don't have a surplus. They don't have more taxes than government expenditures. They have a negative saving of 600, which is at 2,500 minus 3,100. What is most likely to happen if Canada increases its budget deficit? So here when we say Canada, we mean like government of Canada. So similar to the previous question, if we have an increase in budget deficit, we have a decrease in public saving. So here private saving is irrelevant. So public saving will decrease, and so shift the supply of loanable funds left, because the supply of loanable funds is national saving, which is public and private saving. Nothing has been mentioned in terms of private saving. It's really all based on public saving. Bailey wants to start her own dental practice, but her expenditure exceeds her income. Which statement best describes Lucy? Well, if her expenditures exceed her income, she's spending more than she's earning, so she is a borrower. So savers are wrong. She is a borrower. And does she supply or demand money from the financial system? Well, naturally, if you're a borrower, you demand money from the financial system. You're not supplying money to the financial system. What would most likely happen in the market for loanable funds if the government were to increase the tax on interest income? So you always have to look at this from the point of view of, is it more tempting or less tempting than before? So if you're a saver or you're supplying funds to the market, if now you have a higher tax on the interest that you earn on that income, well, you're going to ask for a higher interest rate. So if you think of that supply curve, well, for that same quantity, you used to ask a certain interest rate. Now you're going to ask for a higher one because you're getting taxed more, and you want to maintain a certain amount of interest after paying your taxes on this interest income. So the supply of loanable funds would shift left. We're not looking at the demand side. We're not talking about like credits on investment or anything else. We're looking at from the person that's saving money side. And the supply of loanable funds shifting right would mean that there's more loanable funds, more people willing to supply loanable funds at the current interest rates, which is false because of this increase in tax on interest income. So hopefully that clarifies the questions from Chapter 8.